You are live. Welcome to Senate Transportation on January 29th. We are starting a little bit late due to illness and bad weather. So we are going to kick it off with our commissioner at DMV. And I'm not sure, Mr. Collier, if you presented to us before, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Andrew Collier, commissioner of DMV. I'm up to 8 weeks now in this role.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And have you know everyone on the committee who's here today?
Yes.
And then you've brought someone with you?
Yes, I'm Matt Kostick. I'm the Director of Special Programs at the DMV.
Thank you. So if you wouldn't mind going through the DMV miscellaneous bill with us section by section. And then we're going to flag if there's anyone that we should have give testimony, if there's some sections that we want to discuss further.
Absolutely.
But we've already had our legislative counsel, Mr. Leonard, walk us through the bill. So we're pretty familiar. And if there's anything that you want to jump in, or if there's any legislative drafting questions, we've got him. You're here for the whole time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, take it away.
Thank you, Senator. Well, good morning. And so we'll start off with section 1. Under definitions, we are clarifying the term pleasure car to include electric vehicle and electric hybrid vehicles. Really, it's we're trying to avoid the confusion because this was kind of left out in previous iterations. So I will, any questions on this one? I'll jump down.
No. And I would say, just for my own tracking of this bill, when we did it on the House side, if you had issues or you had flags, we tried to kind of catch them throughout. But, and honestly, obviously our chair is not here today. Most of this seems relatively non-controversial. So I'm just kind of going through each sections and assuming that we'd like to have them remain in the bill unless folks flag otherwise. So if you have a specific section that you do not want in the bill or you want us to take a closer focus on, let's flag that. But otherwise, I think they're pretty correct. So good. So thank you for section 1.
Moving on to section 2, enhanced driver's license and maintenance of database information fee. And this is just clarifying that's not a renewal of an existing license, and then it's that we're just changing the application and requiring listed documents. Moving on to section 3, non-driver identification cards. Currently, they do not have the anatomical gift option, which is if you want to be an organ donor. So this is allowing that to move forward and have this option for non-real ID licenses. I'm sorry, identification cards.
So this is a non-driver's license. If I don't drive, but let's say I want an ID.
Yes.
And I also want to be listed as an organ donor.
Yes.
Now I can have that on.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. So I understand this type of driver's license and then the non-real ID, I'm assuming that there aren't sufficient documents for a person to have the real ID. So how many types of driver's licenses are there, if that's not too much of a question?
No, so I don't have the exact number. I can tell you we have quite a bit because we have, if you start breaking out learner's permits, CDL operator permits, then we differentiate between the real ID, which is the accepted for federal, like going through TSA
Right.
and such. And then Vermont has the non-real ID, which you can get operator's license or a non-driver's license identification card. I can get you the breakdown. We have a whole booklet of what the different IDs are, identification cards.
All right, so it sounds like in terms of the main driver's license that people have, it's the non-driver and the real ID are the two parameters that change.
Yeah, so this is just encompassing the kind of what you call real ID ones, and it just kind of bringing the rest of the inventory of different identification cards to allow this option.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Moving on to lost track of section 4. So DMV no longer, sorry, let me back up. Special registration plates and placards for individuals with disabilities. So this is reference the placards that are in vehicles, so you can park in the identified parking spaces. We no longer have a separate, and for years this has been the practice, having a volunteer placard. It's been used, the same placard's been used across volunteers and individuals that need them. So it's just clarifying this in statute that to match what practice has been.
Okay.
Section 5, carrying a registration certificate and replacement and corrected certificates. So this is allowing individuals to go online to their DMV account and print off a registration certificate instead of paying the $20 and having one mailed to us. It's both it's both a savings for the public if they are able to do that, and it's also just an efficiency of getting it out there and people having this the registration.
Thank you. Senator Brennan, welcome. We are on section 5 of the DMV bill. So far, you have missed, I would say, nothing super controversial. And if you need a printed copy of it.
I would love one if you have one.
Yeah, I can make it on.
Think you might.
Take mine. I have my notes here.
Oh, we might be all set.
I'm good for now.
Sure.
Thank you.
We just went over volunteer placards on driver's licenses in section 4. And now we're talking about printing your registration certificate, allowing that to happen versus paying $20. So now if I was a really thrifty Vermonter and I had a printer, I'm saving myself $20.
Yes.
But do you have any concerns with folks who say, you know, it doesn't print out properly and there's not a good readability? Have you spoken to DMV enforcement or anything?
Just from my prior career there, it shows up when you run a registration on either by the radio or on the computers that are in the cruiser. So it's really just matching up and having it available. Section 6, state municipal fire department and rescue organization motor vehicles. This section, we're clarifying that the infrastructure fees do not apply to state, municipal, and volunteer firefighting organizations. And by volunteer firefighting organizations, just want to be clear, we're also including EMS and ambulance, or any subcategories that might fall into there, like a technical rescue group or
A fast squad.
yes, yeah, exactly.
And we're going to have Drew Hazelton come and speak to us about this section 6 because they have a couple of concerns, or is my understanding, or they have some questions about it. He is the Vermont EMS lead person, spent a lot of time in GovOps with us last session. And I think they're just trying to clarify if they have to pay the fee or not, but the way it's written is my understanding.
It says ambulance too, but
Yeah.
Do they have to pay the fee on other vehicles?
I think this is.
Are they already exempt from other?
Yeah, so this is again, just to clean it up, this is trying to match other language that's in DMV statute and kind of moving it to consistent consistency.
Right.
Section 7, veterans exceptions. So when this is remove the $2 admissions fee for veteran plates that are currently not charged right now. This, I would say, is just a mission from when this statute was probably intended to do. But leave that open to interpretation. But it's just removing that $2 fee and making it truly what it should be, which was no charge with one registration for the vehicle.
Do you know how much money you will no longer be receiving?
We can run and grab the numbers on that based on what we have for plates in circulation right now.
But it's included in your I haven't even had a chance to crack open that section of the budget, but it's included in your budget requests, a reduction of the amount relevant to this.
Yeah, let me follow up on that. I believe it is, but let me just double check on that.
And then the veteran has to apply.
Correct, and they have to have the paperwork. I know Damien was able to read it off top of his head last time, but it's the 21-4502 that's issued by the Department of Veteran Affairs. That they're honorably discharged and entitled to financial assistance.
My guess is it's a pretty small number.
And we're going to have Robert Burke ideally come in on this second.
Yeah, and the fee itself is only $2. So, it is a very small fee in the grand scheme of fees. So,
And when you said Robert Burke,
He was a recommended individual from the DMV.
yeah, he runs the state's Office of Veterans Affairs.
okay,
So
so not
he's-
the
No, but he would be the person
Yeah.
certifying to the DMV that the individual is in fact a veteran who is, let's see, is it honorably, I think it's discharged under honorably discharged. You may want to consider, touching base with Robert Burke about the honorably discharged, language there, because they're
change.
well, there's two important things to keep in mind. So there's an honorable discharge, and then there's a discharge under honorable conditions. And there can be discharges where the individual has done nothing dishonorable, but because of the circumstance of the discharge, they don't get an honorable discharge. It's just a discharge that's under honorable conditions. And you may want to include them in this exemption. But he is the expert on explaining the differences. And if you are thinking of that from my prior work in this office where I covered Veterans Affairs, I can give you a cheat sheet on all the different discharge conditions that would help you sort of understand what you'd be encompassing.
We have language about getting a veteran plate that we just worked on last year.
Yeah, and I worked with Anthea, I think, on
Yeah.
preparing that
We
language before the session.
might want to match that because we found out that the state's definition of veteran sometimes different than the feds.
Mhm.
But they couldn't get this form, but the Vermont said that they were a veteran. This was one particular individual who got injured during basic training. And they just, they were a veteran and the state was saying that, but the feds, they couldn't get the like this fed form. So for the purpose of getting a veteran plate, we allowed them to get the veteran.
Yeah, that's another instance that can sometimes get missed is they had a disqualifying injury during basic training or training early on before they actually served.
Right.
And so you have individuals where they, for whatever reason, cannot actually complete their service. But it's through no fault of their own.
Right.
So,
We went back and forth with the PA about how, because they didn't also, if I remember correctly, they didn't want to have to make that decision each time. They wanted to rely on the federal form. So we came up with language on that.
Great, let's revisit that with section 7 when we have Mr. Burke come in. That's a good idea. And if you do have that list of all the different.
I'll pull it up and send it to Megan.
Thank you.
Section 8, fees. So this is reference, Vermonters who receive supplemental security income or social security disability income. So SSI or SSDI. And they're eligible to receive a non-driver's identification card at a reduced rate. So this is extending that eligibility for the reduced rate to holders of junior operators licenses and operators licenses receiving the SSI and SSDI. And it's to be consistent with another statute, which is 23-115, which is a non-driver card, which has the same pricing or fee structure that's listed here.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
so is this, will this reduce revenue? Or is it what you're?
So there are less than 500 of these issued right now. So I would say it's nominal,
Okay,
a nominal change in revenue there.
That might be a good blanket question to maybe get addressed,
Yeah.
is if you have an amount of money with any of the fee reductions in total, what you would tell us the reduction.
Yeah.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
And then learner's permit, section 9. So this is with our new FAST system or new modernization project. It's allowing replacement motorcycle learner's permits now available on MyDMV to occur. And it's also allowing a photograph to be attached to learner's permits, which were unavailable prior. Section 10, commercial learner's permit. And this is just allowing the department to include a photo of the applicant on the CDL learner's permit now.
And we were going to have Pat McMahon
Yes.
essentially come in to talk to us about CDL in general. They're a recommendation from the DMV.
Section 11, deferring imposition of sentence prohibition on masking or diversion. So this was amended last year, and the commercial learner's permit was inadvertently left out of the subsection A, so just being added in. Section 12, examination required waiver, and this is allowing the commissioner to validate a learner's permit coming in from a different state, so they don't have to retest and that we're accepting if someone moves from Massachusetts to Vermont, that we're accepting that the test that they had was sufficient.
Well, so it's similar, right? I mean, you don't automatically do it for any state. It just.
Right, it's you're verifying that it's acceptable kind of one-to-one, and then
Yeah,
you're allowing the transfer to happen.
so most states probably.
Yeah, it'd be in most states.
Thanks.
Section 13, fee per examination. So this is requiring a fee to be paid if someone does not appear for their examination. And I think it's kind of probably detrimental to Vermonters. Schedules change quickly, and I don't think the DMV is a place in a position to charge a no-show fee. And I think this is just removing that section out of here to be consistent with kind of what practice is. We're not, my understanding, we're not charging that right now as it is, so it's just making it consistent.
You were probably collecting a whole lot of those fees anyway.
Right.
They didn't show.
Exactly. And it just, why add that burden or stress? Sure, from change. Section 14, qualifications for instructor license. So currently there's no set minimum requirements for a DMV licensed CDL school. So this is aligning it with the federal entry level driver training qualifications. And I think, I know we have a shortage of CDL drivers, and I think having, this is actually will better the instruction and help new drivers coming on board as well. I think it's, so yeah, again, just aligning with the federal entry level standards. Great. Section 15, instructor requirements and training. And this is a reduction of operating experience from 4 years to 2, and will open the applicant pool for motorcycle instructors, which are needed here in Vermont. Section 16, definitions. This is a more of a technical side with some renumbering to correct some errors that were caused by the last of subsections being erroneously viewed as exclusions. I know Damien talked about that, clarifying the breakout on the sections now. And it's also changing. We're going to see this quite a bit going forward as well, the NADA is now JD Power. They merged or were bought out. So we're have to change that throughout these sections.
So this won't change. So I'll just flag that this was new information to me that NADA had bought JD Power folks and that they were combined. I thought that they were still separate and that there was a difference in how the two were operating. So this is really not making a change in any valuation of people's taxable amount. This is just clarifying the correct reference.
Correct.
Okay.
Because if Andrew Collier and the public Googled NADA to try to figure out tax before I go to the DMV. If I didn't go on the DMV website, it's on there. But this is clarifying that now I know where to look for what the DMV is using.
Go ahead. Yeah, is this, is it available to folks for free?
Yeah, so you can
So there's not a charge to learn that number.
no,
Access
so
that value.
you can go on to JD Power just the same way you used to for NADA and put in your vehicle information and it'll kick out
Okay,
how much your vehicle's worth.
okay, good.
Much like Kelly Blue Book, it just this is the system that
Yeah, there was one that I went to that had a fee, and I thought it was Blue Book, but there's no fee for this.
no fee.
Great, thank you.
Section 17, Commissioner computation of taxable costs. And this is, again, cleaning up with the NADA and, clarifying, that the commissioner can develop a process to determine the value of vehicles that do not have a clean trade-in value based on JD Power. It's cleaning up that section. There was, I don't want to say it's just adding some language in there to make it work correctly.
So this is a not clean traded value. So these are vehicles that have had an accident or have had some kind of, so when you, the term clean trade-in is an industry term, is that correct?
It is. So that is, I don't want to go too far on my skis. I believe it's when it's no accidents or accidents have been repaired. It's clean title. There's no salvage title on it. It can be sold again. But this is, a vehicle that comes that
Does have those.
that has, yes. So it comes in with damage on it and it's, I go into the DMV and say, hey, I purchased this vehicle. It's missing the engine. It's not worth $10,000. It's actually worth $500. It's just defining that computation.
So if I'm a Vermonter who has a vehicle that I believe is worth $5,000, but let's say this tells me a clean trade-in would make it worth $10,000.
Mhm.
I can present to the DMV why I think there's a difference
Yes.
of that.
Yeah.
And I can make that case. We may be hearing from other witnesses at some point who are going to ask us a few questions about that potential situation. Just as an FYI.
And just,
Yeah.
so it says the commissioner may develop a process, so that would allow you to develop a process.
Yes.
Do you have a process now?
So there is a process in place, so someone can bring in evidence or present it to the DMV. If they do not like what the outcome is in DMV, there is an offering for that to do a hearing. And then that is rolled on, and then if they don't like what the hearing is, it can move to Superior Court.
Okay.
Okay.
Section 18, refund. So this is taking case law and clarifying it for the consumer to clearly state that there's a one year time frame to request a refund of the purchase and use tax. Again, this is just cleaning up some internal processes. We have a lot of instances with people coming in kind of after the fact, and it's making it a little more cleanly set for the public. Section 19, refund upon loss of vehicle. This is just allowing the commissioner to collect other information from owners when their vehicle is sold or stolen or lost, that they no longer have that registration. Just allowing other forms of certification that they don't have that vehicle to be sent in. Section 20, application and issuance of license. We are making the change from driver privilege card to now non-real ID.
And those are just a higher quality ID. They're more difficult to fake. Just the real benefit of that.
So this section is only defining that on the non-real IDs, that we're just saying non-real ID instead of, it used to read driver privilege or driver privilege card, and now we're just saying non-real ID. So
So are you reducing the number of types of?
not reducing the number of types, it's just changing the actual name when you have on your license.
Okay,
To just read non-real ID to clarify this is not a real ID, which is acceptable
right.
for like TSA or border crossing.
So you didn't used to have that?
Right, just a
Or-
driver privilege card. Or,
Oh, I see. Okay, just to make it more clear.
yeah. Section 21, credits and refunds. Currently, the DMV collects refund requests that are up to 33 months. And this has been problematic for the staff. I just saw one last week that was a stack so large it couldn't get scanned into the computer systems. So this is just reducing it to 12 months and just trying to find some efficiencies. Bring in line. Section 22, operation of odometers. It's just a technical correction to that eliminated a run-on sentence and make it a little more readable.
Go ahead.
So how often does that happen? Because it's not that easy. It used to be easier
For
to the tampering with odometers.
still happens.
Easy to tamper with them.
It used to be easier.
Yeah.
You
Have
can-
experience.
well, you can drive backwards, but that's apparently it takes a very long time, and that maybe doesn't even count as tampering.
It still occurs. I just saw my weekly report from our enforcement team. They just had a case last week of someone falsifying the odometer.
Okay,
So it still happens. It still
'cause
occurs.
it's a huge. I mean, there's a lot of money in that.
There's a lot of money.
So, are you satisfied that we are doing what we need to do?
As far as legislative side or workman side or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, is anyone saying we need to do more?
I think for Vermonters that this occurs to, obviously they probably wish we had done more. I think it's enforcement kind of like everything else enforcement. We just have to have the strong enough penalty there to try to prevent it, and then you also have to have the enforcement leg of that stool. And I think also having the education side, so you have kind of three legs of the stool available there. Just in the short time I've been here, I have not heard that we're not doing enough. But again, to a Vermonter, what happens to, obviously that is a frustrating process and probably want to say
Yeah.
we've done more or
Commissioner, it might be helpful. I don't think this group has heard from DMV enforcement yet, and I know we put in place a catalytic converter. There was an additional penalty for the sale of the stealing of catalytic converters. Perhaps maybe this session, before we get this bill out, we could have someone from DMV enforcement just
absolutely,
give us a little lay of the land so we can understand.
absolutely.
I don't see anything in this particular bill that we're changing drastically in their practices, but it would be good to hear from.
No, absolutely. Well,
them.
get someone in here, go over overview and
Yeah,
That'd be great.
questions.
yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry. Lost where I
I
was.
think you're on 24 or maybe you're 23.
23. Strats. Sure, so these are all just,
I think you're adding a cross section.
yes,
It seems to be they're making.
that is the main change for that. So with that, if you're okay with that, I'm gonna jump down to, section 27.
Yep, it looks like sections 24, at least mine is 25 and 26 are mainly cross section.
Yeah, yeah, all of that is just updating cross references because of some confusion going on about whether an adjudication is considered a conviction. And so this is referencing the definition of conviction, which includes adjudication, to just make it crystal clear. Even though those definitions already apply to those sections, so it's not a substantive change, but it is for the folks who've been applying that. There have been questions that have been raised in the last couple of years about whether adjudications are included under that. So this is just making it crystal clear that that is and was our intent. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jumping down to 27, civil suspension summary procedure. In this particular statute, it's reading, essence, the BAC is being set at 0.081 versus a 0.08. And so this is changing what appears to be an inadvertent error and aligns the two sections together. And just to be clear, we don't know of any court cases that triggered this. This was just internally, this was found.
This is the at or above 0.8.
Yes,
And so now it's potentially if someone was at 0.8, there's a case potentially they could be making that they do or don't actually fall under this statute.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it just cleans it up. So we just get rid of that argument, or attempt at that argument.
Go ahead.
So, sorry for all the questions.
No,
Um,
please.
This is our only
Yeah.
thing today till lunch.
Okay, perfect.
Go on, really put it all down, guys.
So drunken driving is a big problem, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going up, if it's going down, if it's staying the same. Is this something that your division handles or department handles, or is it someone else, or is it a combination of folks?
It's a combination of folks. So our inspectors, if they come across a motor vehicle or commercial motor vehicle, will handle that operation and arrest that person for DUI. But it applies to all law enforcement who save a bond. So it's not just particular DMV. This is applied for all kind of DUI
Right.
enforcement.
So if we want to know what's happening and if we should be doing something more or less, stopping things that aren't working. Maybe y'all know who to talk to.
Related to drunk driving.
Yeah,
In the past, the person that's talked about that is a woman, not from, I think that from the Vermont Safety Council.
okay.
And because they are the ones who's responsible, it might even be called the Governor's Traffic and Safety Council or something.
Yeah, Governor's Highway Safety
Panel, Traffic Council.
Police also Bill Jenkins, I believe.
Actually, I don't have my books with me, but we should invite, I would also love an update on crash data if that's.
Yeah, and they go over that as well.
Did you, last year, and I can talk to Senator Westman too, but did you have a set schedule for when you heard that? Did they release a report or anything? Did you hear about it in relation to the T-bill or? Did you hear what?
I can't remember. It was informational, so we weren't changing any statutes, so it was just more of like, as we went through the agency, so they might have had a budget in here or something like that. But we did talk about the crash data and the data for drug and alcohol rates,
All right.
arrests, and we've also had troopers in, which are dealing with it different than the DMV enforcement. So
Right.
they talked about it because There was a bill introduced 1 year to increase or decrease the blood alcohol level to what Utah has. So that year we talked more about it.
Okay.
Those are the people that are supposed to be kind of focused on, like, what is the best way to make the roads safer?
Right, and the sheriffs have a role to play too, because there's
Yeah,
this
we've had the
federal
sheriff.
program that they
Yeah,
go through.
the sheriffs have to come in too.
All right, well, yeah, if we could just put
Yeah.
that on our list.
I'm gonna add potentially highway safety council and the governor's folks for crash data and see if that would naturally come up with the budget. I can.
Great. Thank
You're bringing up lots of good things. We're learning on the job too, Commissioner.
Worked for me.
you.
Section 28. So this is requiring, some change of language on, it's Form 240. It's part of when you arrest someone for, a DUI offense, you fill out this form. And it's supposed to act as your temporary driver's license, after you get your DUI or when you leave, the barracks or processing room. And on it has the date when you have to mail in if you want to contest it, when your court hearing date is, and some other information. There's a question that kind of comes up. If you do not have a license, you're required to give this form, and it's serving as it's stating a temporary driver's license. So you're theoretically, someone would make the case that that person was given a temporary driver's license.
You drive.
You can drive.
Yeah, and that was not the intent.
That's not the intent. I remember several nights having arrested someone who did not have a driver's license, and you're trying to fumble through this sentence of you don't have a license, but here's your temporary driver's license.
Have fun while you can.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, we got stuff. And I have a note that the judicial may have jurisdiction.
Yeah, so on that form, it's from the Judicial Bureau. Section 29, fees. I am gonna try to explain this one best I can. Currently, a record request, they're from before my time. A record you could fit 33 pages onto I was told this green piece of paper thing or green.
Oh, probably the green bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's counted
Yeah.
as one record.
Okay.
So
Good to have older people.
so it's taking that, it's dividing out those 33 into what the new price is. So 0.3 cents or 3.303 per record now, as charging instead of trying to fumble through $10 a page, which I still don't really understand what that was, but
Could it be they were after one page on that, and they're paying for $10 for the whole shebang,
Correct.
they only needed one
Yep.
piece of it, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I do.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I'm familiar with, sometimes companies will ask governments for, like, give me all your contracts, just so that then they can do marketing to the folks who are on that list. So, and I believe there was something that we changed relative to privacy, and we stopped giving out the driver license list a few years ago, which is good. So these records are not driver's licenses, I would expect.
no, so these are still bulk record requests that come in, that have to follow the DPPA, Driver Protection
Oh, privacy.
Act.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so there are still instances, like insurance companies still have access to some of the information. that we have.
Okay.
So they can reference check, their driver's record, and there's some companies out there in the background, that use that information and purchase to support these. Like, so Kelly Blue Book, for instance, if I put in my VIN on my vehicle, it will pull up what my vehicle is and that's registered here in Vermont. So there are some instances where bulk data is sent out for companies to cross-reference, but they have to follow what we have for our DPPA rule, which is
Okay.
federally set.
Oh, that's
Wow.
a federal rule?
Yes, on sharing of some of these to specific areas is federally.
Interesting. So across the hall here is the IT and Institutions Committee, and of which I'm the chair, and we're going to be doing IT things. So we might ask you to come, or someone from your
Yeah,
division to just come and explain how that works.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so section 30 trusts. When I first read what's currently statute on this, I honestly had no idea. So we are just clarifying what is here. We're not making any substantive changes. It's just making it so anyone can read what's needed and the costs and the fees associated with it. Because what is currently there, I'm sorry, it makes absolutely no sense. So,
In legal terms.
in legal sense.
Damien explained that well.
Yeah, when two lawyers are reading it and say, I don't know what that means.
And I'm not a lawyer. So you can imagine my take on trying to understand that. Yeah, so just cleaning it up, it's everyone can just read it and understand what's expected.
And then you've got the very exciting effective dates.
Mm.
You picked
Yes.
really outlandish July 1st of 2025. So, thank you. You truly are all we had for today before lunch. So this is a great time if folks have questions, or if there's something that's not in the DMV miscellaneous bill that you were either wanting to see or that we should bat around as a committee. I've got 2 items myself that I'm discussing with the chair on when it's appropriate to schedule those conversations, but just putting that out to the groups if there's topics that are missing. And did you have a question?
It is, well, one I forgot to ask before on the veteran exemption. So we added the emission fee. Would that also extend to the EV infrastructure fee? Because it says no fees and it says including the emission fee. Are we getting into a situation where we have to list all the different fees?
It's a great question, Senator. We'll look to Matt over here, you know, up on the EV side.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
On the no fees for veterans if they apply for it, we added the admission fees. Would it, under no fees, does that include the EV infrastructure fee, or should we, if we wanted to, would we need to add that?
You would, at this point, it does not include the EV infrastructure fee. So that.
The exemption doesn't include.
Correct.
So they would have to pay that.
Correct.
The other question, more of a statement, if I'm allowed to, Vice Chairman. And that is that there's not in here about the fees that we increased the registration fees in 2023. And the only reason I bring it up is that the governor complained about it a lot, especially in 24. And then leading up to this session, we heard a lot of complaints about it. So I'm surprised that I don't see anything in the DMV fee bill to say, let's roll back those 19% increases, because we thought we needed to do it for revenue, but we were criticized for it. But yet I don't see the governor suggesting it go down. So I know that's not you, but I just feel compelled to make that statement on the record.
I think that's important for you. It looks like based on what we're gonna get from your budget, that you were able to allocate the funds from all of those fee increases to relevant places.
Yeah, we've decreased our budget a little bit actually this year, just because of, we had up the staff with limited service positions with the modernization project, because the team shifted over to work directly with the vendor. So the DMV brought in, it was 14 swimming to search positions, so we're able to, starting in July, roll those 14 off the books as a project comes up to completion here in November. So that was significant amount of when I came off the.
Okay, if there wasn't anything else that you wanted to share with us, we really appreciate you coming and presenting to us. Sorry that our chair is under the weather, but.
Problem. Thank you. This is my first time doing a bill.
Wow.
Yeah.